Contemporary, large-scale interventions are more frequently involving a wide variety of participants. The former top-down model of organizational change, where decisions were announced by top leaders who expected subordinates to carry them out, produced very little buy-in from those lower level in the hierarchy who were forced to adopt. To increase both the adoption rate and cycle time of change, and often to develop better decisions, many large-scale interventions began to involve multiple organizational levels. Large interventions now often involve sizable groups with hundreds or even thousands of participants, including multiple levels and roles, can lead to better knowledge since problems can be examined from multiple angles. Even though the groups are large and many initially sound unwieldy, large interventions are often structured using smaller subgroups for purposes of idea generation and dialogue. Despite the need for rapid change, many interventions that target a whole organization often involve multiple activities over a longer period. Rather than generating and analyzing data, the practitioner's role is now more of a community organizer who structures, encourages, and helps focus the issues. Organizational members can generate their own data and then be taught and assigned how to analyze and interpret it. There are many definitions of strategic planning and many writers who have recommendations about how to conduct it. Strategic planning involves making decisions about the organization's purpose, products, vision, direction, and action plans. It also involves trade-offs and choices about customers and markets, as well as an introspective analysis of the organization's competitive advantage and challenges in its current environment. Strategy also includes a discussion of mission and goals and objectives and the methods by which strategy will be translated into specific activities. Among management scholars, much has been written about the intricacies of strategic development. A perfect strategic plan, however, runs into challenges when the real work of implementation begins. Despite the potential for OD to address these challenges, OD practitioners have historically not been deeply involved in the development of an organization's strategic plan, which has generally been a top management activity. Effective implementation of strategy can be a defining characteristic of successful strategic planning. Real-time strategic change is a related intervention that can increase the pace of change. It can be applied to a number of topic areas that require commitment throughout the organization, including organization members' ownership and follow-through on implementing a strategic plan. While it's not exactly a strategy development process, it can help organizations implement the strategic plan by increasing awareness and commitment to the plan and its foundation. It can involve hundreds of members throughout the organization who work together to solve problems and discuss opportunities facing the organization, not just on those facing their own group or department. Strategic change means that organizational members will work together on important issues in the organization's internal and external environment, including customer needs, industry trends, market challenges, and more. Real-time strategic change events are generally structured over a 3-day period. The first day is focused on building a common database of information. Participants summarize the themes representing their current view of the organization and hear more about the strategic plan from top leaders, asking questions to clarify understanding. With a commonly shared present state, organizational members learn more about the strategic plan from top leaders, asking questions to clarify understanding. The conclusion of the event asks teams to work on action plans and to make decisions about how they can support the strategic plan, designing follow-up initiatives that they'll commit to accomplishing. OD practitioners have value to add to the development of strategic content by becoming experts in strategic planning processes, especially in the areas of implementation and change. More and more, OD practitioners are developing skills in strategic planning. Many organizations can benefit from scenario planning in many circumstances. Similar to other methods of forecasting, scenario planning involves gathering data to forecast possible future conditions. However, scenario planning simplifies the avalanche of data into a limited number of possible states that allow organizational members to consider and to address them. Scenario planning works best when there are a number of possible options and there's a high level of uncertainty about which options are likely to pan out. In a scenario planning process, detailed stories or narratives are developed that describe plausible future circumstances. While there are many variations, one method consists of four major activities. Before any scenarios are written, a scenario planning team should be formed, and that group should agree on the process and outcomes of the effort. Group members gather quantitative data about facts and trends as well as qualitative data about the views of the future from organization members. Factors are analyzed and compared for their predictability and influence on the organization. The scenario planning group and the leadership team discuss implications of each scenario, and the group makes decisions about what actions to take and agrees on metrics and processes for communicating and monitoring action. While scenario planning is simple to explain in concept, it's very difficult to do and to facilitate. Facilitating a team through a planning exercise requires a healthy team in which members have patience and respect. Search conferences and future search conferences are designed to move the organization to a desired future. These are related interventions during which a broad cross-section of stakeholders meet over a short period to develop agreements and action plans. While there are some differences between the two formats, particularly in how the conference planners deal with conflict, both methods seek to encourage commitment to a common vision of the future. It's not a problem-solving conference or a team-building meeting where members negotiate roles or work processes. Instead, the topic is likely to be the future of the company. The objective in inviting participants is to get the whole system in the room. A broad cross-section of stakeholders are invited to participate. Instead of the practitioner leading the data gathering and interpretation process, participants are interacting with and interpreting their own experiences, which tend to be the most powerful source of data. With the wider context of the organization as a foundation, participants have a dialogue about a future in which they also will share. A future search conference involves few to no presentations, training, or speeches by top executives. Three interventions address organizational quality and employee productivity and tend to suffer more from fad mentality. Total quality management, re-engineering, and Six Sigma have all had moments of popularity as well as moments where their techniques have been alienated in both popular and academic press. It's important for most OD practitioners to be at least somewhat familiar with all of them. Total quality management gained attention as a response to quality challenges in manufacturing. Total quality management can be defined as creating and implementing organizational processes that motivate, support, enable quality management in all of the activities of the organization. In TQM, processes are systematically measured using statistical techniques called statistical process control to chart the accuracy and productivity of each process. TQM requires a cultural shift in many organizations to consider the impact of every process on customer quality, with every employee taking ownership and responsibility for quality. First, identify customers and what they value at all levels. Then identify products and services provided. Flowchart techniques are used to document the actual process we use today and all of the flaws associated with that process. Then we simplify the process. Like quality circles, unnecessary process activities can be combined with others or eliminated to streamline the number of steps required. Continually improve. SPC charts show the standard variation in the processes so that a process exceeds those levels, action can be taken to understand and correct where errors are occurring. Management must rely on data to make decisions rather than making decisions on a hunch or a best guess. Critics of TQM point to its high failure rate and presumptive packaging as an employee involvement strategy, masking as a mechanism for management control through statistics. Supporters, however, point to significant improvement in organizations that have been used in the TQM approach. Management fads and quality efforts have done little to improve productivity and profitability in corporations. They've pointed out that in most organizations, there exist tremendous inefficiencies caused by organizational structures and organizational systems that segment functions into distinct divisions that may not be successful, but at the expense of one another. Rather than make small incremental changes to existing processes, companies could save more time and money by rethinking and restructuring entire operations. Reengineering is not the same as automation, downsizing, or reorganizing. Rather, it's a rebuilding process where the entire organizational operations are created anew. Three criteria help the team to determine which processes are ripe for reengineering: processes that are not working as they should, those that affect the organization's customers, and those that would have a high impact if redesigned. Once the organization has chosen a process to be re-engineered, it's the responsibility of the re-engineering team to remove barriers, create new process steps, shift responsibilities, or consider any other number of possible changes. The primary values of re-engineering tend to be about organizational profitability and process control rather than participation, which sometimes has led to significant employee dissatisfaction. Many observers call for integrating OD values and processes with re-engineering programs. The term Six Sigma may refer to a statistical measure or to a business process improvement initiative. As a statistical measure, Six Sigma refers to the existence of fewer than 3.4 defects for every 1 million opportunities. Most processes operate at about 3 or 4 sigma level, or about 10,000 to 60,000 errors for every 1 million opportunities. Six Sigma is built into the infrastructure of organizations through the establishment of several important roles called champions, master black belts, and green belts. Black belts and green belts lead improvement projects, whereas champions and master black belts remove obstacles and provide support and mentoring. Six Sigma stresses the application of quality tools and diligently questions existing work processes to result in a dramatic, measurable impact to the bottom line. An honest assessment of the organization's readiness to implement Six Sigma is important. This includes an assessment of strategic direction, the chances of meeting financial and growth goals, and the organization's ability to adapt effectively. Willingness to extend and expand on needed resources. A Six Sigma program has financial impacts such as direct and indirect payroll costs of those dedicated to the effort full-time. Reflection on objectives, scopes, and time frame for the program. This includes an assessment of what the organization wants to accomplish in which periods and in which areas of time. Total quality management, re-engineering, and Six Sigma all aim to improve customer satisfaction and productivity through process improvement efforts. The failure of these programs in many cases has been due to the practitioners neglecting to think of the program as an organizational change intervention. In this respect, many observers believe that OD principles have much to offer the quality movement. It's been estimated that 50 to 75% of all mergers and acquisitions fail to achieve their financial or strategic goals. Despite the negative press of a low success rate, merger and acquisition activity increased substantially in the 1990s and 2000s. The financial and economic components of mergers are part of a total mix of problems that includes such things as expectations about norm development, role changes, leadership style, decision-making process, and goals. Organizations tend to invest time, money, and energy in initial due diligence activities, but tend to invest relatively little in understanding the merger's possible impact on people. As employees worry about their job security, whether compensation and benefits will be comparable, and whether they'll feel comfortable with the new corporate identity, productivity and morale often decline. In the pre-contract stage, human due diligence requires cultural assessment of both acquiring company and companies being acquired. Once the merger or acquisition is announced and employees of both organizations begin discussing it in the open, they can further explore cultural attitudes and attributes of both organizations. Once the two organizations are largely combined, it's common for the integration team to quietly disband, declare the organizations integrated, and ask members to return to their former jobs. Attention must be given to how the merger evolves for the organization to achieve the value desired from the combination. A special circumstance in organizational development is when multiple organizations join together in networks. They're referred to as trans-organizational systems or meta-organizations. The field of organizational development has been slow to understand the unique challenges involved in these relationships. Multiple organizations may enter together into interorganizational relationships to pool their resources, or they may decide to work together towards some common and mutually agreed upon end that none could solve independently. Each of these types of transorganizational systems differs in how it's organized. In some situations, organizations may participate in name alone, or they may have only an economic relationship, such as in a purchasing network. In the development of a joint venture, 2 or 3 organizations may meet periodically to determine who will handle which responsibility and how they'll work together to meet each organization's objective. Transorganizational systems develop a 3-step process of identification, convention, and organization. Each of these stages presents distinct topics of concern. The focus is on inviting members who have a stake in the issue or concern to participate in the identification stage. The second stage consists of soliciting input on each member's perception of the problem, members' objectives, and the motivation to join. Members explore and agree on the desired future they'd like to see, including actions each would agree to take to reach that future. Hierarchy and structure differ in transorganizational systems from those in typical organizations. In many cases, group members participate on an equal footing with no hierarchical relationship between them. Membership relationships are unique compared with most organizations in which employees all have the same or similar relationships to the organization. Membership in transorganizational systems can be voluntary, as in the case of a corporate production network or an international political body, in which case participation and engagement of all members is a primary concern. These network relationships are maintained through a leadership role they call network choreographer, who organizes participants and develops and maintains network relationships. The growing presence of interorganizational design will continue to challenge OD practitioners. A diagnostic OD process suggests different ways of engaging with clients throughout the OD engagement, including contracting. As you might expect, diagnostic OD interventions look different and are facilitated differently from traditional OD interventions. In diagnostic OD, interaction and conversation are the priority, and participants are given ownership and responsibility to bring up the issues and topics that matter most to them. In most diagnostic OD interventions, the facilitator and client may not even know what topics will come up during the intervention, making them feel somewhat less structured or planned than other interventions. The format of a diagnostic OD intervention is designed to create these conditions.